Hello and welcome to a final recap of our 2024 goals. In this video, we're going to go over all of the goals that we set at the beginning of 2024 and see if we met any of them. I did do some quarterly updates for these goals, and I will link those videos in the description if you're interested in seeing our progress throughout the year. But as a recap, at the beginning of the year, my husband and I set income, savings, debt repayment, and spending goals for the year of 2024 because we knew that this year our budget was going to be a little bit tight because I was taking some unpaid leave at the beginning of the year and we didn't know what our expenses would be, as this would be the first year that we have had our daughter. So when I did my last update, I had asked for suggestions for what to focus on in 2025, and I got some really good suggestions that I didn't really think about, and I definitely used them to create my goals for 2025. And if you're interested in seeing what those goals were, if you haven't watched it yet, I will also link that video. But for 2024, our major goal shifted at the beginning of the year. We were going to mostly be contributing to our retirement, a little bit extra. I wasn't going to max it out this year just because of our lower income. But then we had some unexpected expenses come up, which was we had to replace our roof, and that was a very large expense, much more than we were anticipating. I think we ended up adding a few extra things that we probably didn't need done, like we replaced some of our windows, which probably didn't need replaced. But we ended up doing it all at once, thinking that it would save us a little bit of money. We got a little bit of a discount by bundling the jobs together, but we probably could have done without the new windows. But that expense was just over $44,000. And we chose to go with no interest financing for an entire year. So our goals shifted from retirement savings into full-on roof savings so that we could get this paid off. And I will reveal to you that we did save up this money. If you've watched any of my budget updates, you will see that we were going pretty hard with our roof savings, and at the end of November we were actually able to reach that savings goal and get back to investing a little bit. So I'm just going to walk you through the goals that we set and whether or not we achieved them. For a little bit of background, I'm a software engineer and my husband's an electrical engineer. For these goals, they're based off of my gross income and my husband's net income, but only 85% of it. Well, at the beginning of the year, it was only 80%. So he contributes 85% to our joint expenses, and I contribute 85% to our joint expenses. But because I'm the one who does all of this tracking, I track 100% of what I get. And so I like to track based off of my gross income. But because I don't have access to his paychecks, I don't see how much taxes come out. I don't see how much retirement comes out. So I don't track his gross income, and I don't see what he spends in his personal spending account, the 15% that he keeps. So none of that gets accounted for in our goals, our spending goals, our income. Although I do know how much he contributes to retirement, And so that has been put into our savings goal. But for income, it's my gross and his net, but only 85% of his net. First, for our income, at the beginning of the year, I put in a goal of $108,000 for my gross income, and this was a little bit of an estimate because I was taking unpaid time and I didn't really know how that would affect my taxes, and how that would affect my income exactly. This was just an estimate. And then also, I usually get a mid-year raise, and I didn't know how much that was going to be. So I had estimated that I would bring in $108,000 from my job, and it turned out that I only brought in $104,000. So that was almost $4,000 short, and it was only 97% of our goal, but that's still pretty good. We made up for that in other categories. So my husband, I was estimating that he would contribute $45,000 to our family budget. 3/4 of the way through the year, he shifted from contributing 80% of his paycheck to contributing 85% of his paycheck. Also, at the beginning of the year, when we realized we had this roof expense, we cut back on our retirement account savings. And so when he was contributing less to his retirement, that also increased the amount that he was contributing to the family budget. Again, we budgeted $45,000, and he ended up contributing almost $56,000. So that was 124% of what we budgeted, almost an extra $11,000 towards our income. So that makes up for me not bringing in as much as I budgeted for. And then for interest, I was very conservative with this estimate because I didn't really know how much interest we were going to bring in, because originally we didn't have a huge savings goal, and so I didn't expect that we would have a lot of money just sitting in savings. With that building up over the year, we ended up with over $50,000 in our savings account, with our emergency fund and the roof savings. And we also had that in a high yield savings account, which was not something that we had had previously, just because we never had large amounts sitting in savings. I set the goal of $800 for interest, which was conservative, and we ended up bringing in just over $1,300 in interest, which is nice because that's just passive. We didn't have to do anything but let our money sit there. Although I did have to switch banks a couple of times. That was 166% of our goal. And then for rewards, this is credit card rewards. We buy everything on credit card, and the credit cards that we have only offer 1.5% cash back. I know that we could probably finagle the system and get better credit card rewards. We're not really interested in points because we don't really travel. We just like the cash back cards, and I know that we could probably switch to better cash back for better like groceries and gas spending. But anyway, I set the goal of $300 in rewards. This is, I think, $50 a month or something. 25 from my card and 25 from my husband's. But we ended up redeeming $330.96. And that was 110% of our goal. Just a little bit more than what we set for the goal. And then for refunds, this is almost exclusively our tax refunds. I set the goal of $1,500, having no idea how much our refund was going to be because this was the first year that we had our daughter for claiming a tax break for that. And I also had some residual credits for installing geothermal in my house. So we typically get a pretty good refund, but I just set the goal of $1,500 and we ended up with over $7,000 in tax refunds for the year, which was almost 500% more. And then other income, this is really just like miscellaneous if I don't have a category for other income. And I just set the goal of $50 and we ended up at $842. And I think that some of this was from opening checking accounts. I got the cash bonuses for opening some checking accounts, and then like cash gifts. Like our daughter got a few cash gifts that I added as income for us and then just transferred to her savings. And so overall, our income goal was $155,650, and we brought in $170,175, which was $14,000 more, almost $14,000 more, and 109% of our goal. So that was pretty good. Now moving on to our savings goal, I contribute to my workplace 403B, and at the beginning of the year we were planning to contribute a lot more. I was planning to do like 10% of my pay. In the end we shifted it down to just the match, which was 4%. So originally I set the goal of $7,000 and I ended up contributing just over $5,500. So that was only 80% of our goal. But you'll see that we had to shift priorities for our savings goals. My husband's simple IRA, we had the goal of $5,500, and that was back when he was contributing like 15% of his pay. But when we shifted it down to 3%, I think I adjusted the goal, but he still only contributed $5,393, which was just 98% of the goal. So almost there, but not quite. And then for Acorns, which is my after-tax brokerage account, I had set the goal of contributing $360, which I think is like $30 a month or something. Of course, I decreased this at the beginning of the year because it's not that big of a priority to save in my after-tax brokerage account, especially when I can't even fully max out my my tax advantage accounts. So we ended up contributing $198 to that. This is mostly just the recurring monthly contribution and roundups. So it wasn't a big priority. It was only 55% of our goal, but not a big deal. And then my husband's Roth IRA, we had the goal of contributing $6,000 in this year. And then when the new roof came about, we decreased that goal. And then after we realized that we could reach the roof savings goal, we went back to contributing to the Roth. And so we ended up contributing $6,450, which was more than our goal, but still not quite the max for 2024. So in 2025, we are planning on making that final contribution, I think of $750. So we were 108% of that goal, even though it wasn't quite like the new goal, which is maxing it out. And then my daughter's 529, we had plans to invest $5,000 so that we could get the state tax break for contributing. We ended up contributing all $5,000, but I think if you've seen one of my Transfer Tuesdays, I talked about how I was contributing to the wrong account. It wasn't our state's account, and we couldn't roll it over into our state account. So we won't actually get the full tax break for $5,000, but we were able to save for her. So that should help her out in the future for college or whatever, because she can roll that into a Roth if she decides she doesn't need it for college. And then our emergency fund, we had a goal of contributing $5,000 because we wanted to bring it up to $18,000, which is about 3 months of expenses. And we actually only contributed $4,500 and just left it there. We could have added that extra $500, but it wasn't a big deal to us. We were very close, and $17,500 is close enough for us. So it was only 90%. And then our new roof, I said that the total was just over $44,000. We actually had $10,000 sitting in savings, like earmarked for home renovations. And so that $10,000, it was already there. And so we only had to add $34,055 to get to that full amount. And we were able to do that. So we were at 100% of that goal. So our goal was just under $63,000 towards savings, and we were able to contribute just over $61,000 to savings. So we were almost $2,000 shy of our goal, 97%, but holy cow, $63,000 to savings is huge. Like, I'm not upset about that. Okay, so now moving on to our debt payments. Our goal was just to pay the minimums this year, and that was $32,472 for our mortgage. We ended up paying $32,435, and that's because after an escrow analysis, our mortgage payment actually went down. This isn't like what we've paid off in terms of debt. This is what we've paid towards debt. So we haven't paid off $32,000 of our mortgage. We've probably paid about $12,000 of our mortgage, but contributions towards debt, we hit that goal for mortgage. And then for our truck, I rounded that up to $8,100, knowing that if we paid our minimum payment every single time, we would be about that. So $8,087.82 was what we paid towards the truck. That's not how much we paid off of the truck, as I said, because there's interest in there that we're paying. I think I'll probably do another debt confession update soon so that you can see exactly how much we have paid off in our debts this year, because I think I did my first debt confession at the beginning of January this year, or 2024, and I've done an update since then, and then I will do a 1 year later so that we can see how much we've paid off in an entire year. And that's especially going to get exciting as we start paying extra towards our debts this year. So my husband's student loans, that's $382 a month. And so 12 months, that's $4,584. And that is exactly what we paid towards student loans this year, 100% of that goal. And then my retirement account loan, that's also the same amount every single paycheck. And I didn't pay any extra towards that. So we hit that goal at exactly 100%. So this year we paid off just over $51,000 in debt. Well, this year we paid just over $51,000 towards debt. That's not how much we actually paid off. We'll go through that calculation with my debt confession, because I actually have no idea how much of our debts we actually paid off yet. So now moving on to our fixed expenses. This is the stuff that doesn't vary every month in terms of what we spend. And the goal here is to be under 100% for this, because we want to spend less than what we set our goal as. Although these are fixed expenses and there's not really much we can do in terms of cutting these. So first I have my life insurance, which comes out of my paycheck. I budgeted $52 because that's what it is. It's $52 for the year, just under that. And then our utilities, I budgeted a little bit more than what I thought our utilities would be because I thought that our utilities would increase. We pay a flat rate every month because we're on this budget billing type program. And then they like reevaluate every few months exactly what we should be paying. And I spent all year expecting them to increase it, and they did not. So, of course, I'm expecting a big jump this year, 2025, but I think I said that almost every budget video last year, that I expect them to be increasing my utilities, and they did not all year long. It was $184 every single month all year long. So we were 97% of our goal there, which is good. We were under 100%. And then car insurance, same thing. I was expecting them to increase it at our renewal period, but they actually decreased it. And part of that was because when we replaced our roof, they gave us a discount on all of our insurances. So we have our homeowner's insurance and our car insurance with the same company, and they give us a discount for having a new roof, and that discount applied to car insurance. So our car insurance went down, I think, at least $20 a month. So that was really nice. It's going up in the new year. I had budgeted $2,100. We only spent almost $1,800 on car insurance for the year. So that was 85% of our goal. And then internet, this hasn't changed. It's $30 a month for $360 in the year, which was our goal, which is what it was. And then Acorns, this is, again, my after-tax brokerage. I pay $1 a month for that subscription. And so I budgeted $12. I paid $13, and I think that was because in January of 2024, I still paid for December. Like the payment came late, which it sometimes does. It sometimes pays the next month. Like it sometimes drafts in the next month for the previous month. That was $13. So we were over budget on that, but we weren't really. And then for daycare, I really had no idea how much I was going to spend in daycare. I really wasn't expecting to send my daughter to daycare, but when I came back from maternity leave, they wouldn't let me work from home anymore. So I had to send my daughter to daycare. I set the goal of spending $10,000, and we ended up spending $9,710. So we were under budget, and that was good. But that was just about 6 months of daycare. So overall, we budgeted our fixed expenses to be $14,624, and we paid just under $14,000 because that was 95% of our goal. So we were under on our fixed expenses, which is good. So for our sinking funds, this is basically just a bunch of savings accounts for our everyday spending, because our everyday spending is so variable that setting a budget it's just too much. So sometimes we buy like a ton of groceries, and sometimes we buy like no groceries, just depending on what we feel like eating. We're either eating a lot of like dried beans and stuff that we already have, or we're eating a lot of fresh vegetables. So sometimes we stock up on a bunch of frozen vegetables, and other times we're just eating through them, so we don't need to buy more. So our like groceries are super variable, and then basically everything is variable because we don't consistently spend in any of these categories. If we were consistent, then they would be in our fixed expenses, but we don't. So for home, I budgeted $9,480. We ended up contributing an extra $100 to that fund. We had a lot of home spending. I'll go through the spending. I'll breeze through these sinking funds and then I'll go through the spending because that one's so much more interesting. For groceries, $4,200. We were under on that. Car and gas, we hit that goal. Gifts, we didn't hit that goal. We didn't contribute quite as much as we were wanting to. I think we probably had a significant amount in our gift sinking fund previously, so we didn't have to contribute as much. Restaurants, even though we were having a low spend year, we were still contributing to restaurants. We didn't contribute quite as much as our original goal, so that's fine because we also didn't spend very much. Pets, we didn't contribute quite as much as our goal, but for baby, we ended up contributing a lot more. We had a lot of spending, both with her hospital bills. I think we also spent from her fund for doing the nursery, and then just like clothes throughout the year. Clothing and personal for me, I didn't contribute quite as much as I budgeted for. And health, we contributed more than we budgeted for. Travel, looks like we contributed $5 more. FSA was exact because that comes out of my paycheck. And phone, we didn't contribute quite as much as we budgeted for. And then miscellaneous, we didn't contribute as much, but that one, we don't actually really use that. So overall, we contributed 101% of our sinking fund, so $130 more than we originally intended, but this is just like savings, so I'll get into the actual spending now to see if we spent more than we planned to. So for home, all of the goals for spending, I set it at our goal for contributions to the sinking fund. And of course, we want to spend less than those contributions, but the goal is what we contribute so that we don't spend more. But you'll see that that doesn't happen. So with the like $9,000 goal for home, we ended up spending about $8,000. That was 85% of our goal. For groceries, we were actually, that was a very good goal because we spent 99% of it. So I was kind of right on track. Even though we don't consistently buy groceries every month, like the same amount, I was actually able to budget for the year very well. So I think I set these goals usually based off of like the average of my last year's spending. So I'm not going totally blind into this. So if you're looking to set like an annual budget or a monthly budget, take a look at your previous months or years of spending to get a good idea. And then if you're trying to lower your expenses, try to trim it down a little bit, but not too much because you don't want to set unrealistic goals. For car and gas, we only spent 87% of our budget. I know I had to get new tires this year, so that was expensive. But also about halfway through the year, my husband stopped using the joint account, and he's the one who buys a lot of gas. So he drives a hybrid truck, so he gets better gas mileage than when he drove a car, but he drives a little bit more than I do every week. I think his workplace is 40 miles from home and mine's 30. It's probably like 35 when I drop my daughter off. So he's filling up at least once a week, and I'm only filling up once a month because I drive a plug-in hybrid. So I don't spend that much on gas, but he spends a lot on gas. And so I had originally set the goal assuming that he would keep using this gas fund, but he decided not to. He decided to spend his own money on gas. And so that's why we were 87% down. I may have adjusted this halfway through the year also when he started not using it. For gifts, it looks like we went way over on this, and that was definitely, this Christmas was pretty expensive. We don't really limit ourselves on purchasing for our nieces and nephews. It's like their parents send us what they want and we buy it. So we don't really have much of a choice for how much we spend. I mean, we could just buy them something that they're not asking for just to save money, but that just seems stupid, like to buy something that no one wants just because it's cheaper than the thing that they actually want. So we went a little bit over on gifts, and that's fine. 112% is not bad. It was only $60 more. And then restaurants, I set this budget at 300, this goal at 300, even though we were having our low spend year, and we ended up only spending like $53. So 18% is pretty great. We really did well with not eating out this year. I think one of those restaurant purchases was actually buying dinner for my husband's birthday. Like, that's what he wanted for his birthday, was takeout, and so that's what we did. And I counted it under restaurants instead of gifts. But so that, I think that was basically our only restaurant spending for the year, was for his birthday. And so that spending actually came from my personal budget instead of like the family budget, even though I'm tracking it here. So if my husband eats out with his own money or buys takeout with his own money, that doesn't get tracked here. But honestly, we don't really get takeout. So this isn't totally accurate because I don't count my husband's personal spending, which I don't think that I should, because he can do what he wants with his personal spending money, just like I can do what I want. Although I usually choose to pay down debt. For pets, we were 89%, right about on budget. I think next year I budgeted a little bit more because their vet appointments are kind of expensive. And I don't think I was totally prepared for that in 2024. So I will be better prepared in 2025. And I think that's because I did not have 2 rabbits. I think I got my second rabbit in 2021. His annual shots were free because of where I got him from. The House Rabbit Society paid for his annual vaccines, but this year I had to pay for his annual vaccines as well as the annual vaccines for the rabbit that I had previously. So, and I had no idea how much they were going to be on top of the vet appointment. So I can't believe I actually stuck to this budget, because I really had no idea. Baby, our goal was to spend less than $1,200 on her, and we ended up spending more than twice that. And we spent more than twice that just on her hospital bills. And I chose to count those under baby instead of counting them under health, just because I had more in the baby sinking fund than I had in the health sinking fund at the time. But we went way over on that. We had no idea how much she was going to cost because we put her on my husband's insurance instead of on mine. And I knew what my max deductible was, my out-of-pocket max was, and I hit it. But because he's on a high deductible plan, we basically had to pay full price for her stay at the hospital for 4 days or whatever. And then clothing and personal, I mentioned I only spent 60% of this because of our low spend year. I don't even remember what I bought this year. For health, we went way over. Again, I had only budgeted $60, and then we had the FSA, which was $480, I think I said. So our health spending was the FSA plus anything above and beyond that, which was over $130 so far. And we had additional doctor's appointments that we haven't paid for yet. So again, with the high deductible plan, it's been pretty expensive for health spending. And then for travel and entertainment, we were actually way under budget, and that was because we had paid for travel the year before and then got some of it reimbursed. So we went camping, and we were originally going to camp for, I think, 3 nights, and then we ended up only camping for 2. So one of those nights got refunded. So we were negative in our travel and entertainment budget, and we didn't do any paid entertainment this year. The FSA, we were over on that because I got some things from the previous year reimbursed from the previous year's FSA, and it went into this budget because of the way I do things. But we ended up using up whatever I had left of the 2023 FSA, and then all of the 2024 FSA. And then for phone, I had budgeted $540 because with Mint Mobile, they claim to be $15 a month or $30 a month, which is what we have. I have the 15 and my husband has the 30, but then there's a crazy amount of taxes and fees. And so I budgeted $540, and we ended up paying $52 extra, which I guess 10% in fees isn't that crazy. I think it's crazy. If they're gonna tell you it's only $15 a month, then it should be only $15 a month, not like 17. But that's just my opinion. Who am I? And then miscellaneous, I budgeted $180, probably just to make my budget 0. And we spent $102, and that was because I actually moved that $102 into the health budget, which means we actually spent even more in health because I spent the entire miscellaneous budget as well. So we budgeted just over $20,000, as I said, for our spending, and we spent almost $20,000. We spent $19,729, which was 98% of what we budgeted for. So we were under, but only just so, $490 under our goal amount. So we were over on our income goal and right on with our debt payoff goal, but we were a little bit under on our savings goals. Fortunately, we were also under on all of our spending and fixed expenses, so I still think that we did really well this year in meeting our goals. This was absolutely helpful, setting these goals this year and tracking them all year long with these updates. They helped keep me motivated, and I love to see the progress that I've made. So if you've never tracked your goals before, but this has inspired you, then I will link my budget spreadsheet in the description box below, and it has a goal tracking page that you can use. It pulls your spending from every month if you use it like the budget spreadsheet, but if you would prefer to enter everything in manually, then you can do that as well. It will only be linked and available through the end of January 2025. So if you're watching this before then grab yourself a copy. And if you're interested in seeing the goals that I set for our family in 2025, then I will link that video up here. And if you're interested in following along with our journey towards debt payoff and saving and investing and financial freedom, then please hit subscribe because I would love to have you follow along. Thank you for being here.